We are conduits, not containers of God's grace, okay? Now, I want to show you, many of us live our lives like a container. We have these experiences with God, experiences. I met Jesus at that youth camp. So your container gets filled up with God's grace, right? That's a grace. Someone prayed for me once and I was healed of something. That's another grace. I was really looking for a job and God provided a job, another grace. I was looking for a spouse, God provided another grace. And our container just fills up and fills up and fills up. I went on that missions trip and I experienced incredible things, another grace. And there was a church potluck once and I asked God that someone would bring fried chicken and someone did. And then you get the point. Our life is filled up with God's grace. All these little things, big things and small. What's the problem with containers? There's a limit to how much they can contain. Some of you are experiencing spiritual dryness. Some of you are wondering, is God real anymore? What happened to God? Where is he? You're not dry. You're spiritually full. You're full. There's no room for more grace experiences. This is how God wants us to live, friends, like a conduit, okay? Grace goes in, grace goes out. And you don't have to go so far down the pipeline. You just focus on what's in front of you. Grace goes in, grace goes out. Grace goes in, grace goes out. Empties. It flows back and forth to each person. And here's the thing. This is why we can respond to what we see. This is why we can give what we have, what God has given us, because the grace will keep flowing. Our God is the source of all. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. We are conduits, not containers of God's grace. So what does all of this mean for us? What does all of this mean for us today? How do we live as conduits of his grace today? How do we let God's grace flow through our lives? Well, one application, pay attention to clogged pipes. Okay, and I'm going to break this down in two ways. I want you to think of this collectively as a church, and I want you to think of this individually as well. Collectively as a church, pay attention to what might be preventing you from living open-handedly as a community. Okay? What might be preventing you? Are you living off of yesterday's grace? And that's enough for you. Keep taking bold steps of faith together. Keep doing that so you will have more stories to tell the next generation of what God has done in this time through your church. Keep taking bold steps of faith together. And don't hold anything back from his mission. Your building, your people, your resources, don't hold anything back. Just lay it out for Jesus. Just give it to him. And here's the thing, when you live open-handedly, you can receive you can only receive if your hands are open, right? So just be like that. Individually, on the individual level, pay attention to what's preventing you from living open-handedly. Pay attention to your heart. What's in your heart? Is there a fear of lack? I'm going to miss out. I'm going to lose. Is there pride? I know what's best. God, I know what's best. Apathy? I don't really care. Is it self-centeredness and selfishness? What I want is more important. What's in your heart? And here's the thing, because we don't take time to pray, because we don't actually we're not paying attention to what's in our heart, and it's getting in the way all the time of what God wants to do through us. At Youth Unlimited, we have a prayer of relinquishment, and we practice this all the time whenever we have group discernment times, because there's stuff in our heart. We come to decisions with stuff in our heart all the time, and the prayer of relinquishment looks like this. You kind of visualize. You ask yourself, what are you passionate about? Okay, so let's use the merger for an example. This is an application for you today. What are you passionate about in regards to this merger? What are you hoping for? What are you concerned about? What are you worried about? Okay, and visualize holding all of those things before God. And relinquish them. Let them go. Let him take it. And when you live that way, God will give you what his will is. His will be done, his kingdom come, his will be done, right? That's the prayer of relinquishment. And so we have to be disciplined with that. We have to always be praying like that. So, because we are conduits, not containers of God's grace. So Stone Church, God is still writing your grace story. And he is still writing the grace story of this city.